So yeah, the gift I have of like having a one-on-one business model and working so like closely with my clients and being so in their businesses with them is that I just see behind the scenes of so many things, and have had obviously a lot of clients have those kind of like what appear to be like the big pop moments. And so just want to always be kind of a resource to share what I really see going on. Kind of like not last week, the week before, but just talking about like how, things are changing on social and likes and engagement are going down and all of that. And people being like, oh, I was seeing that too. It's just like nobody's saying that. And so I just kind of want to keep saying these things because they're real and true and happening. And I think that the more we can just talk about them out in the open, the better. So let's do that. Oh, hey, Steph. So happy to have you. Hey, Michelle. Oh, so great to see your face. Oh my gosh, so happy to have all of you. This is just making my whole day. Obviously, you guys know this, but if you have questions along the way, let me know. That is where I shine, is answering your specifics here. This is why I'm a one-on-one coach, because I do not consider myself much of a teacher. So if you have questions, I have answers, but I will do my best in the meantime. Okay, so here's the thing. There's a couple of things I want to talk about today. The first is, let's just put it out on the table. Like when we think about like clients that are having these big pop moments, it's usually coming over months, if not a year. And it usually started a long time before that. So even some of the, like little quiet nuggets that we put in the email about this or whatever was like, 0 to 7 figures in like a year or something like that, right? It's still a fucking year. So I really want to say that as a starting point. And I want to say that like most people, even when that's happening, don't feel like it's working, right? Or like 6 figures in 6 months. It's still 6 months. So what can happen so often is that those like pop moments don't feel like it when you're in it, and they only look like that in retrospect. Like of course it looks like a pop to go 6 figures in 6 months, but it doesn't always look like that in those 6 months. And that's what mentally fucks us up so much, because we're hearing someone's retrospective on something and we're not, and we're in it. Does that make sense? So it's like we're looking at completely different vantage points of something. It's like hearing the story of someone that climbed the mountain versus being the one climbing the mountain. They're just vastly different things, right? Yeah, perfectly said, Michelle. Hindsight is 2020. Exactly, right? So I think that's just really important to say, because I really believe this is like one of the like biggest like challenges in our space, is to kind of separate those things out in your brain and to know that like you're only hearing the, here's what it looks like at the top of the mountain, or here's what it looks like after it's climbed, and you're almost never hearing that. And on day whatever 97 of this process, I felt like total ass and I felt like it wasn't working. But basically every single person that I've worked with that has had a pop moment spent most of the time thinking it wasn't working, right? So like just putting that out there. Now, I'm not saying they didn't have a good mindset. I'm not saying they were doing the thing where the whole time they were like, it's not working, this sucks, da, da, da. Like that's not what I mean. So I'll talk about the nuance of that. But like I say that to say like your business in this moment of you listening to this could be very well in the middle of one of those big pop moments, and you could be telling yourself that's not what's happening. And then you'll only see it in hindsight, right? You'll only see it later. Once it's been finished, you'll be like, oh, that day on July 12th, everything was working. I just couldn't see it at the time. And that's where everyone gets fucked up in this space, is because you think you should be able to see it. You think that if you're having a pop moment, you know. And the truth is, you usually don't know. Right? So I just want to say that, because I feel like it's so easy to be listening to this live stream and think like, well, I know that's not me. But what I really want you to start with is like, what if that is me? Like, what if I'm in that right in this moment? Right? Yes, Michelle says, claiming that I'm in the middle of the biggest pop. Exactly. Like you can just own that, right? Like you can be like, even if it doesn't look like it, it's totally possible that that's what's happening right now, kind of thing. Because again, nobody ever thinks it looks like that. Nobody's ever day to day like, mm, obviously this is perfect, right? Obviously this is all working out. Like it's hard. Business is hard. It's a mindset game. Hey, Sarah, thank you for being here. Haley says, love that reframe. Yes. It feels like I'm popping. Exactly. Roxana, you got to own that. You got to like take that in. Yes, exactly. So that would be one of the things is just to realize that no one was like knowing that the whole time. Again, if I look at all of the like, particular things we listed in that email we sent out, I cannot point to a single person that whole time was like, oh yeah, this is blowing up. I have nothing to worry about. It's here. I'm having the biggest like top moment ever. No, that is just usually not what it feels like, not what it works like, not how it plays out, right? Angeline says it's all about allowing yourself, hold on, sorry, I gotta move this. All about allowing yourself the space for expansion. Exactly, totally. When Lacey and Julia tell you you're in the middle of popping, you gotta believe it's true, 100%. Like you gotta almost take that in. So the converse of that is, another thing I say is, so just to like make these make sense together. Another thing I say a lot is you're not going to surprise yourself successful. So you do have to believe it's possible for you. You do have to believe that the potentiality is there. You do have to have the like openness and hopefulness towards that. But I'm just saying you're probably not going to see it like in the way that you think you're going to see it in this super linear path day to day. So those are almost different things. Like you have to believe in your inevitable success and believe that it's coming, but you also have to let go of the idea that like it would look like it was popping in this certain specific way and you would know it and it would seem so clear and obvious. Like it just doesn't usually play out like that. So I feel like that level set is super important. But again, that's where the mindset stuff can come in, where I can decide that's true. I can lean into that. I can believe that's true. So yeah, you're not going to surprise yourself successful, but it's also not going to usually look how you think it's going to look. So just being able to kind of like, toe those lines is so freaking important. So the other thing I want to talk about, hey, Catherine, true. Yes. Hey, Claire. So the other thing I want to talk about, and this one's probably going to be one of the like shorter and sweeter live streams I do, because I feel like this is just, kind of like, there's not like so much to say on this. Like, I'm not like, oh, they did these 15 strategies or anything like that. But the other thing I want to say is that, it's one of those things where like we think pop means that we have done something different that has now created this thing to happen. And so what happens in our space, and it's what is just like mind numbing, is we'll jump around looking for the different thing to do to create this pop, right? Like, where is it? Where is it? What's the new thing? Well, this thing hasn't done it. So what's the new thing? And so there's this fallacy that it comes from doing something new and different. Okay. I really want to talk about that. But I want to see what you're saying before they disappear. Michelle says, this is a reminder of why a coach's perspective is so helpful, since you can help remind us when we're in the middle of our brain being really cute. Exactly. And that's so true. Like, this is why coaching is so helpful, especially for this next part that I'm going to talk about, because it is so challenging not to keep chasing the new thing that looks like that might be the thing. And that's where coaching can be really helpful to kind of like keep you grounded and on a path. So we will talk about that for sure. Haley says, yes, totally. Anytime you say something is going to be short, it still turns into 45 minutes. Yeah. Michelle, I'm not talking like 15, obviously. Don't get insane or anything. I mean, I can't even imagine. Can you imagine what it would be like for me to do a 15-minute live stream? I feel like I should challenge myself to that at some point. Claire says, no. Yes, right? You totally know this, Claire. So what happens is we jump around looking for the new thing because we think that everyone that we're looking at that had a pop moment had something they did that, completely changed everything. And I can just tell you from behind the scenes that is almost fucking never what I see happen. But it is what I see make so many entrepreneurs really, really, really struggle and just feel freaking burnt out in business because they're always looking for what's that new thing that makes it all blow up? What's that new thing that makes it all work? What's that next thing that makes it pop? And it just almost never works like that. Like it would be, I know it would be so great. And like a lot of times, like there's almost this like hopefulness about that. I think that like, you know, it's, we want to find that next thing. And we really think that if we found one thing and it just like exploded or whatever, that would change everything in our business. And like, I'm sure there are like some, you know, things that could happen there. Like say you have something that goes super, super viral, fine. But even that doesn't necessarily do it if you don't have the infrastructure to then sell and convert those people that like viral thing brings in. Or even because something goes viral, it doesn't mean people want to buy from you. It might just mean they're like sharing it because it's like funny or great or whatever. And so my point in saying all that is like, it's never just like one thing. One thing can like be a leverage point, I think sometimes, but it's so not that. It's so much more the like foundational business building shit that grows over time. So it's kind of how I was saying earlier, how like even these great results, like it took a year, it took 6 months, right? So it's not like something really different happened at the 6-month mark that all of a sudden made it so that someone made 100K, or it's not like something happened in the last month of that year where someone went 0 to $1 million that made them make $1 million. Like that's not what it looks like, but that's so much what we trick our brains into thinking. It's like, oh, like there will be one thing and then I will be a 6-figure business owner. And what's so hard about that is that's almost impossible because the 6-figure business owner got built over a year. Like, right? Does that make sense? Like, so the logic in our brain can get really fucked up there where we think like, there will be one thing that will happen and then I will be a 6-figure business owner. But we forget that like to be a 6-figure business owner takes a year of making 6 figures. And that looks different all along the way, which that's a whole other conversation, but maybe I will draw my diagram today about that. Getting out my Sharpie, because let's talk about that too, because Michelle said she would be so sad if they were less than 45 minutes. So obviously we can talk about that too. But does that make sense? Like it really is this like timeline, no matter how you slice it. But if you keep running around that whole time being like, what's the thing? What's the thing that's going to make me a 6-figure business owner? What's the thing that makes all this pop? You're so fucked because nothing. It takes a year of making enough of that money over time and letting that grow to be a 6-figure business owner. So let's talk about that for 1 second. It's a little bit of a tangent, but I think it's really important here. So this is what most people's income looks like when they're having a pop. Okay. And by the way, like you guys know that I do revenue share with my clients. So I like legitimately know this. Like I'm not just guessing here. Like my clients report revenue to me every single month. So I know this for sure. But this is generally what a pop looks like. And then over the course of a year, they'll be like, well, I went from here to here, right? But these were the months of that happening. Like they had, you know, a couple really tough months in here where it probably didn't look like it was working. And then they had a couple big months in here with like a dip in between, right? So it's like, if you can sustain these, you can get that trajectory up to here where now like your baseline income is all the way up here over the course of a year, right? But this is where people get so messed up, is because what happens is when this first thing happens, they decide it's not working and they go look for the next thing that'll make it pop, right? And it's so tough because if you aren't willing to sustain some of this, it's really hard to get here. And I'm not saying it has to look so bumpy all the time, blah, 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 but you get what I'm saying. Like, this is just an example of like, most people aren't just a straight line, but over time it is a straight line up, right? I want to see what you guys are saying before I put that down. Hi, she. Oh, Michelle, I missed something that you said because it only shows me so many things. Maybe you could, yeah, maybe you could just copy that for me. Is that possible? Yeah, exactly. Jessica said it's such a mind fuck. My income is on top trajectory. Yes, Michelle, but see how you could see it like that? Or you could be like, oh, like what is going on? It's not working, right? Oh, you did. You're the best. Thank you so much. After hearing you talk about this so much, I realized by not making it just one thing, it takes so much pressure off of everything. Yeah, totally. Because instead of waiting for one thing, everything gets to be the thing. So it's like every little thing you do is magic. Oh, I'm so glad you repasted that because that's just the best thing ever. Exactly. When you can see it as like every single thing leads to more of that versus like, I just need one thing to make it all work. The pressure is like almost insurmountable at a certain point. Like if you're trying to get every post to go viral because you think that's the thing that'll make it work or whatever, like oh my God, like the pressure is just so intense. Like most of us would just peace out at that at a certain point. You just can't sustain that intensity, which brings me back to my friendly little diagram here of can you sustain these points, right? And can they not make you run at something different? And that's what we're going to talk about in a second too. But yeah, like this is what like building a 6-figure year looks like a lot of the time. Even like I was saying this to a client recently. So like, let me just say this here, but like even my own income, I did a live stream on here recently that I had 100, whatever it was, 107, 108K, whatever it was month. The next month, when did I have that? June, May. I think I had it in May. In June, I did not. I also knew I probably wasn't going to. We had that was like a decent jump for us. I think, we had like 95K or whatever. So it was almost like a 12K jump for us in terms of like highest. And so I kind of figured this was going to happen. But I also know now that I'm definitely going to sustain 100K months soon, probably because of how this works. But it still looks like this a lot of the time. But what happens is that then we make that bounce wrong. We're like, oh, okay, I went from like 95 to 107 or whatever. So what is that? Is that 12? Yeah. And then we're almost like, oh, well, I can't sustain it. So that sucks. But if you can see it as like, wait, yes, it's happening. It's happening. This means it's working. If I can do it once, then like I know it can get up to it again, even if it might not look like it the next month right away. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So the pop, like it will be a pop year for us, right? If we end at $1 million, we'll have made whatever, like 250K more this year. But it doesn't look like that every step of the way. Last month, I think we were at 90. So we weren't even at like, maybe it was like 88. I don't even remember 88, 90, something like that. So it wasn't even like we hit another, oh, well, we only bounced back down to like our most high below that. Does that make sense? It was a dip. Totally fine. Does that make sense? Where it just doesn't always look like it. And again, same thing with like the person that goes 0 to 6 figures. That doesn't look like 10K months every fucking month till you hit 6 figures. It probably looks like this too, right? It looks like a, 6K, 3K, a 5, a 4, a 20, a whatever. Like that is often what it is. But again, it's like, is your trajectory going up? And this isn't a case to be like, your income should be super inconsistent, but it is to say that if you're having those really big pop jump moments, it typically kind of is. And so this is the mind fuck of it. We want the big pop, but we don't want to deal with the roller coaster that comes with it. And so we're fucked either way. Does that make sense? Like you can back yourself into a corner where you're like, well, I don't want, to do slow and steady. I want the big pop, but I also, want it to look like 10K every single month. And so that's where it gets hard, right? Yes, staying in the discomfort equals mama use lesson of the year. So good, Michelle. So very hard, but so good. Jessica says, I also feel like at the start, volatility is probably at its highest and you have no historical data. Yeah, I think that's mostly true. I think it's mindset is also the toughest part there. And I also think like your baseline is lower. Like at the start, your baseline is 0. So like this, you know, if this looks like 50K, it's a different experience than if it looks like 500, you know? So like the intensity is different in a certain way. Not that like, you know, with certain level of business expenses, like a 50K can still feel like, oh, that wasn't enough this month or whatever. But you're totally right. Like the difference at the beginning feels so much more intense, and you haven't like written this out enough to kind of know. So without the data, like now, like I was saying, like I sort of kind of figured how this was going to go, like not in a way of like, oh, I'm like manifesting bad things, but in a way of being like, I'm okay with that because I feel like it's what takes us further. Because I feel like locked in and committed on the vision. And like, this is where like the manifesting and the reality can kind of come into play, is like, sometimes I think that when we do mindset work or manifestation work or whatever, we feel like it means that it has to happen the way we want it to happen or it's not happening. But it's like where we can blend the two is being like, well, I'm totally locked into the outcome and I believe in that and all of this kind of stuff. And I know that there's going to have to be certain fluctuations in this 3D world to get me there. And both of those can live, you know, together, right? Alicia says, I love the reminder to stay in and trust at the low point revenue wise. My business popped in 2020 and doubled to 250K. Then changes at my largest client made them unaligned and I resigned in February. I have been relatively hard. It's been relatively hard to go from 20K months to 8K months since March, but I can own it and did it once and all leading toward the upward trajectory. Alicia, so beautiful and so perfect. And thank you so, so, so much for sharing that with us, because I think you're so right. And it's like, you have such like a beautiful decision there almost, right? Where you're like, I either make that mean something is wrong, or I make that mean like, well, now I know I can get back up to that, or now I know that it's all leading toward that upward trajectory. So thank you so much for like sharing that and normalizing that, because it's exactly true. And it's also exactly true that like things will happen in your business, like a client change, or you change a program, or you make a pivot or whatever. And you almost have to be okay with some of this fluctuation if you want to make changes in your business. Because if you're like, it only is allowed to look like 10K months at the same number or whatever, then it's really hard to like let go of that client that's not aligned or do the pivot or whatever. So it's almost like getting comfortable sustaining some of that and seeing that all of that can lead to the pop, versus being like, well, I want the pop, but I don't want any of the fluctuation. I don't want to have to deal with the, you know, pivot or the client or the whatever. That gets so intense, right? Laura, I'm kind of getting there. We're sort of on our way there, but yes, I definitely started to share that, and then we'll continue to do that. Michelle says, it's been so helpful for me lately to look at what others are doing as evidence of what's possible. This was not always the way I saw things. When people were sharing big wins, my brain always went to, that'll never happen to me. And I feel like being able to see others' evidence as your evidence is really helpful, especially in the beginning. Exactly. Thanks, Alicia. Yeah. So the kind of point I want to also get to here is that what it has really looked like and what I see make the biggest difference, aside from yes, being able to ride this out, is doing the same thing over and over again while seeing this happen, instead of jumping to thing after thing after thing. So that's what I was talking about earlier. That's so intense, is that we think that there is like a new thing, like something different must happen to create this pop. And then if I don't see the pop happen or the results happen, or if I'm in one of these dips, then I'll start looking for the different thing, right? And that's where it gets bad. If I can see one of these dips happen and keep doing the same fucking thing, that's when shit really blows up, because it is almost impossible to keep changing up your strategy and your business and your offer and your messaging and actually have a pop, because a pop moment typically comes because you've been consistently doing something enough that the momentum just kind of takes it, which sounds weird, but is so true. And if you think about that with like almost anything, it's true. It's like if you practice an instrument long enough, or practice it enough, you're going to have that moment where it just all feels like it starts to flow. Or same with like a sport or even working out. Like it can feel so tough at the beginning, but if you change up, like and have like all these different things you're doing. Well, I was trying to be a runner, and then I wasn't as good at that as fast as I wanted to be. So then I tried to be a tennis player, but so then I tried to like get really good at spin. But like you can see, if you change that all the time, it's really hard to ever feel like you're just in the momentum and flow there, where you're like, I am just fucking crushing it at running. Like, yes, I have some bad runs and some great runs, but overall it's improving so vastly over time. Or same with like the instrument or whatever. I can just see how like, yeah, I might have a few times where it's like been really hard, or like I mess up a lot in a practice or whatever, but I see it improving over time. That is truly how business is. It is not like I just go around looking for these different things until I find the one thing. Like, again, it'd be like going around and playing all these different instruments until I found the one instrument that turns out I'm like this gifted prodigy at, and now it never feels hard and I never have to work at it. We all know that isn't a thing, or really wouldn't make sense, right? But in business, we so often do that. We're like running around looking for the different things. So the thing that I really see make the difference in my clients is they were willing to stay in that thing, even when this fluctuation happened. And over time, that's what got them here. So in those 6 months of getting to six figures or whatever, when you have the, whatever, what did I say? Like a 20K month, and then like a 6K month or something like that. When you're willing to ride that out and not be like, oh my God, this means everything's broken. Fuck it. I'm out, new plan, new whatever. That's when the pop will start to come, because you kept at it over time. And that's when it gets so much easier and starts to feel like it's flowing. It's that compound effect. It's not that one strategy. And when we're so convinced it's one strategy or one viral post or one thing, that is when we are just so screwed, because it's what keeps us searching, but never riding the wave enough to get to the point where it flows, right? Jessica says, seeing where other things are popping before my results helps so much. Confidence popping, mindset popping, workflow efficiency popping. The universe is just catching up. Jessica, I think that is so perfect. Exactly that. Exactly. Like you have to find your own breadcrumbs almost, right? You have to decide what you make that mean. So what you made it mean is, this is all working. Look at my confidence exploding. Look at my mindset popping. Look at that. Like you made all that mean that. It would be so easy in that situation to be like, but my confidence is great and this still doesn't look how I want it to, or I'm efficient, but this still isn't it. This means it's not working. Or my confidence is great. This means it's getting better and working. My workflow efficiency is getting great. This means it's getting better and working. Like, see how you almost have these like diverging paths there, where you can make everything mean it's about to pop, or it's in the process, or everything is a breadcrumb to that, or you can make everything mean it's not. And so that is like the perfect example. Thank you so much. Rosemary says, as a musician, that example makes so much sense. Good. I love that. Yeah, totally. Like I played the piano for a really long time, and it was like the same thing. Like some days I was really good, some days were harder days, like, but over time, like that really increased, and like that ability to flow in that was vast, but I wasn't like doing anything different. I just had enough effort in at the time that I had that like flow kind of come in. And that's really what happens in business a lot, is like, if you can stay building the momentum with the same thing, you will hit that point of flow and ease. I think that, we can eye roll flow and ease so much, but something I say a lot is that I bought that. Like I bought ease and flow in my business, meaning like I put in the effort to get to that point, right? Alicia says, love taking credit for pops in all categories, not just revenue. Exactly. I think that was so good. It feels so much more fun. Exactly. Yes. Find your own breadcrumbs. 100%. You get to make them mean that, right? It's like, it's so funny how we think there's like one meaning to something, and our brain is so like finite with that. Like, oh, this just means you're doing everything and it's still not working, or like whatever. And it feels like it's just truth versus like, this means it's all starting to work. Like this is where flow comes in. This is when it's all coming together. And to Jessica's point, usually most of those things come together before the revenue pop. So that's really relevant too. Haley says, that's so good. Thank you for sharing that. I've definitely noticed my mindset pops lately. And this is really helping me give myself credit for that too, 100%. And then you're building that evidence that over time, if you were able to do that, of course the revenue is coming. Of course that pop moment is coming, right? Michelle said, random thought. Something that was really helpful that you said in one of your client lessons was the idea of making everything be a sign that it's all working. Yes, totally. I think I was talking about that in context too of like relationship stuff too, where I was like, if everything in your relationship means like we should get a divorce, like every time you have a disagreement or whatever, you're like, well, we should get a divorce. It's going to be really, really hard to feel good in that. And it's going to be really hard to not eventually end in that. But if you make everything in your relationship, even if I mean, this is just bringing us closer, this is making us stronger, this is whatever, it feels like that's what's actually happening. Now, that's obviously a broad generalization, but similarly in business too. So I think that's really where these like pop moments come from, and they come over time, and they come because we stayed in it over time. Again, I have never seen one of these, again, pop moments that didn't have a ton of other stuff behind it. One of my clients that I've done a lot of like behind the scenes podcasts with is Julia Wells. And she is so transparent about this, where yes, she had like a pop year where she went like, I don't even remember what it was, 0 to 250 or something like that, 500 in a year. I can't remember, but it was something, huge. And she talks about how she was in business for 4 years before that. And most of those 4 years was looking for like, what else should I be doing? Why is this not working? What's the thing? What's going to cause the pop? And then she finally like got locked in, stayed in something for long enough. And it still took 6 months of staying in that thing, and then had that moment where it really all felt like it popped and started working. So the point here is that now if you read her story or listen to that or whatever, you're going to be like, oh my God, what is she doing? How can I have that big of a pop? How can I blow up like that? Like, her second year now, she's done 1 million, like her results are insane. And so much behind that, right? It looks so fast, but it kind of was and kind of wasn't, right? You guys can listen to our behind the scenes on her podcast, which is called Wait, What the Fuck? I can try to link them here too, but those would be very helpful to listen to, because it's this idea of like, yeah, it was definitely a pop, and it for sure was. And so much went into that before that. And so much of the time it didn't look like it was working. And even when it was working, it just like what she made it mean was going to be such a big thing, and how much she stayed in it. Because if she defaulted back to that pattern of like, well, yeah, I just made a 10K month, but I want to make whatever 20K month. So what else should I be doing to make it pop? Right. And then started looking for everything else. That's the point where we get ourselves in this like self-fulfilling prophecy then of like, so then we stop doing the thing that was working. We go look for the other thing. We do the other thing, but that's going to take consistency and time to pop. And so then it like doesn't get us to the 20K. And so then we're frustrated, and it's like this never ending cycle versus, again, if we can stay with this, right, and keep doing the same stuff and keep getting that consistency in on the strategies that we're working on. And of course, testing and tweaking them along the way in small ways, but not these huge swings of like, where's the next thing to make it pop? It will feel like that over time. And when you look back, you'll be like, oh, that was always happening. I just didn't see it, right? Brittany says, I joined late, but when you have all the income pop and start to ease into a new normal level of revenue, how do you maintain it when new fears come up? I've been stuck at 10K and don't know how to pop to 20K. Wow. Hey, Steph. Brittany, I think it's like very much this almost where like what I was saying here, I'm not sure if you saw this part, but it's like, you know, you build these kind of things where it's like, okay, so maybe like this was 10 and then you dip down and then you come back up and like it will look like this. So when you say like stuck, I think what you might mean is there's like a new normal here, which is great. You're maybe having some jumps past that, but it hasn't like sustained itself yet. And sometimes that's staying in it long enough to let it sustain itself. Obviously, that could be, you know, business model and stuff like that. Like, do you have the infrastructure to make 20K, blah, blah, blah. Do you have enough programs and opportunities to do that? Certainly that's a question. But my point is, a lot of times it really does just build. Like, so my business is a great example of this, although I know most people don't have my model, so it's not exactly the same, but I'll use it because it's like the only reason I'm making what I'm making now is because that happened over time. If I had expected the partnership model to make me 100K a month, even in the first year of doing it, I would have been so disappointed by it and I would have totally gotten rid of it. But because I've been consistently doing this for years now, I'm making 100K a month off that model, right? But I'm not doing anything different, right? And that happens to my clients with launches too. That's another really great example of this, which is like, it's easy to like have a launch and whatever, say you make 10K off that launch. It's easy to be like, oh, well, that's not the thing that will get me 100K launch, when really what probably would get you 100K launch is launching that same program in a probably a really similar way multiple times, and then just adding to it and building up over time and getting to the 100K launch. Like that is what the majority of my clients are doing. And then it looks like, oh my God, you just had a 100K launch. That was such a pop moment. And it's like, right. And I've launched this program X amount of times before. One of my clients just had a 75K launch. Amazing, huge for her. Felt like such a big moment in her business, such a pop. She's launched this program multiple times before. She launched it basically in the exact same way. Things have just grown over time. We had gotten to add like some different things, more testimonials and results, obviously, things like that. But like she kept doing the same thing, and the compound effect takes over and it snowballs and it pops. So my point in saying that is like, do you see how easy it would be like to be like, well, this isn't the program that's going to get me that, instead of how do I work this program until I get that? Or this isn't the business model that's going to get me the 100K month. Or like, what if I work this business model until I get that? And then it feels like a pop when it happens. Like for me, last year and this year have definitely felt like that, but there was so much behind that. Does that make sense? Hey, Jenny. Oh, that's okay. We'll replay when it's over. Thank you for joining me. Brittany says my packages are priced between $1,500 and $3,500, and I do small group programs quarterly. Are these prices not high enough to get to 20K, do you think? Well, it's not necessarily that they're not high enough. It's just almost like, what business model do you want to run there, right? So like to have numbers at that and then hit 20K months, you need volume of purchases, right? Or if you want less people or purchases, then yeah, you'd have to have the higher price point. But nothing is like not like precluding that, but that could be exactly what I was talking about, where it's like right now those programs are getting you 10K. What does it look like to up that volume and let that compound over time and keep launching those? And then eventually it will probably stretch into the 20, right? So this is almost like what we would sustain to get there. So certainly you could change that up, but even notice how sometimes that's what our brains want to do. We're like, oh, well, obviously I have to make this huge change, instead of like, well, what I might need to do is launch these a few more times and let those numbers build over time. Again, totally up to you, Brittany. I think you can surely change your pricing if you want to there. But does that make sense? Where it's like, sometimes we're looking for that one thing instead of being like, oh, I might just have to keep at this thing over time. And truly, I really feel like that makes such a big freaking difference. I feel like my video does this every time I'm live lately, but it says, sorry, we're having trouble playing this video. Okay, well, I think y'all can still hear me, but that's kind of it. So that's mostly what I wanted to share, is that the pop moment typically comes from staying in the same thing and being willing to do it over and over again and letting it work. Instead of, it's almost harder. Like when we see something start to work, we sometimes almost want to jump to something else. We're like, well, this worked up to this point, so what else? Right? Instead of like, so this got me to this point, so what if I kept going? Right? It's so tempting when you're here or whatever here to be like, well, this worked up to this point, but I got to change it up. Right? I got to. And this is definitely just everyone in general. This isn't to Brittany, but I know I kind of didn't make that transition. So anyway, this is everyone. When we're here, we kind of can feel like, well, it only got me this far, right? So let's say this was me in the partnership model. Say here was 40K months. Like, what if I was like, oh, well, partnership can only get me here. So if I want to go to 100K month, I have to do something different. But that was not true. I had to stay in it. Or what if this was a launch? Say this was like launch cycle. Well, this launch is only going to get me here. So I obviously have to make sweeping changes instead of like, well, it might look like this, but it's going to bounce me up to here. And again, going from here to here is this is the pop, but it looked like this in between. So point is, what I really see is they stayed in it. They kept doing the same thing. They let themselves launch a program. They kept working the strategy. That is truly like those pops. And when you can stay in it long enough to see that, it is so fucking amazing. But again, our space almost creates such a mind fuck that we can tend to do the opposite. So just really wanted to share that because I think that it is so helpful to just hear the reality behind that, where most people, it didn't look like, well, they just did this one thing and then every single thing changed. It's like they did this one thing and got better at doing that thing. And that compounded over time to give them the results they wanted. And when you jump around too much, you're almost like restarting your results a little bit because you don't have the compound effect behind you, right? So it's almost like, you know, you're kind of like level setting back sometimes, and then you have to build back up. And so if you want that pop, that's like a really exhausting way to do it. So I hope that is helpful. I hope that just gives you like some peace of mind, some behind the scenes. Again, it feels that way in hindsight, but we are mostly talking about and learning from hindsight. And so just remembering, if you're in it, right, it is going to feel different than somebody writing about it who is like past that point. And so if you can do what Jessica said, is like notice every little pop, or like, you know, like I was saying, like find your own breadcrumbs along the way and really keep at it. I promise that is what works over time. And is also what builds sustainability in business, because you're getting better and better and you're feeling that flow. Again, like the musical instrument example I gave, like when you get better and better at it and then you're in the flow, of course, it's just more sustainable for you to play that over time. Where if you're teaching yourself a new instrument every week, it's just taking so much mental attention, energy, emotional energy, all of these things. So this is why there's so much value in that sustainability. It's not just to get the pop, although yes, it's to get a business that's sustainable and can keep popping over time, right? Notice every little pop. Yes, exactly. Raquel said, love this. Great reminders. Thank you. Thank you for being here, Raquel. Thank you, Brittany. Laura says, love this. My new motto. How do I show up in my business like Lacey is already my coach? I love that, Laura. Thank you. Good. Okay, so I hope this helped. Look at me, Michelle. I'm at the 45-minute mark. Very proud of myself here. All right, so let me know if you guys have questions on this. If you're watching the replay, feel free to let me know, but I really hope this just gives you a reminder. Stay in it. I promise that is what creates the long-term results that you're looking for. It will be that thing where it didn't seem like it was popping and then you look back and realize it was. And so just giving yourself permission there is so freaking important. Michelle says, I feel like the universe is forcing me to avoid level setting by keeping me busy at my job. Yeah, I love that. And again, like, you can make that mean what you want it to mean. And so I think that is such a beautiful thing to make it mean, right? Is to see that as a breadcrumb as well. So thank you guys for being here. I so appreciate you. I hope this was helpful. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I will see y'all next week. All right. Bye, guys.